Okay, in this session we're going to talk a little bit about maximizing space in your home production system. And the reason to do this is to kind of address the fact that sometimes people just have very limited space. And for some people that's a deterrent to growing microgreens. They just don't think it's possible in the space they have. And for others it just makes it a bit of a challenge. And so I've talked a lot about my setup before, so I won't get into the details there. But for all intents and purposes, this is my home microgreen setup right here, just this shelf. Now in fairness, the bottom here is where I store my seeds, and then I have soil and stuff outside, but all my production happens right here. So it only takes a single shelf like this. So then the second question comes into how much can you produce in this amount of space? So what I can produce in this amount of space is 4 trays a week, or 2 trays twice a week. And I'm able to do that by keeping crops, growing crops that are on a shorter cycle, and by stacking the crops, so the germination stage happens underneath the growing stage. Now my current system, I'm planting a new tray of sunflower shoots every 4 days, but I have some new seed coming, so probably what I'm going to be doing now is every 4 days doing a tray of sunflower and a tray of wheatgrass. So at any given moment I'll have 2 trays growing and 2 trays germinating. And every once in a while I might switch out one of those wheatgrass trays for a sunflower because I'm likely to go through more sunflower, but it's a pretty simple system there. So within a space like this I can produce 4 trays a week, which is a pretty good amount if you were to look at a tray as having a value of say $20 or $25. You're looking at $80 to $100 worth of production a week in a space like this, which is over $5,000 worth of retail production in a year. So if you look at, you've got to pay for your seeds and pay for your soil and put a bit of time into that, but it's not going to cost you even close to $5,000 to do that. It's going to cost you a few hundred, and that's about it. So it's much, much more economical than buying the product. So the stage we're at here is I have a tray right here, which I'm going to harvest tomorrow. I have a tray right here, which I'm going to uncover now. So this is basically 8 days old, 4 days old. And then I have a tray right here, which I just sowed and I'm ready to put into the germination stage. So I have my trays basically staggered front to back. I've always got a weight on the tray, as I've talked about before. This is our 14-pound concrete slab. So I'm uncovering this tray in the back. I'll just give you a quick look at that so you can see. So this is the stage at which I'm uncovering. It's a little early, but it's perfectly good time. Get a sense of the height of things there. Everything's germinating really well, good growth, long stems, everything's well rooted in. So take that out of there for now. I'm going to take this guy and stick it in the back. Now that tray's already been watered. I've watered the seed in, so it's good to go. So this now goes in the back. I'm just going to pull it to the front here for the time being. One last look. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tray and put it back. Actually, I'm going to do this in 2 stages because I want to maximize the amount of weight on here. So now I'm going to cover this like this. I'm going to put my weight on top. So now I have 14 pounds of weight on there. And then I'm going to put this tray back on top here, which is another few pounds. So another thing this does is brings this tray right up close to the light. So I'm only going to do that for about a day or so. Tomorrow I'll take this out to bring it down a little bit. But generally I like to have my tray about like a hand's width away from the lights. And this is a little closer than that, but it's like 4:30. It's only going to get a few more hours of light today. It's just been uncovered, so this is going to give it a chance to really absorb a lot of light at a high intensity. I'm going to take that. Oh, actually, I'm trying to be economical here, but very important thing to do when you uncover is to give it some water because it's just been under there for 4 days without any water whatsoever. They've germinated perfectly fine. There's still a decent amount of water in the tray. I can feel that by its weight. That's the best way to determine how much water is in your soil. But that fresh water and that moving water really is good for the crop. So it's going to go back in there and back to the back. Now I have two sets of lights, and because I only had one crop growing previously, I only had one set of lights on. I'm going to take this other set here and plug them in. Now we have both sets going there. And I actually forgot, this set in the back here actually has some yellower lights, so lower K value lights, about 3,500 I believe, or these are closer to 6,500 in the front. So we can just sort of add another experiment to this as we're going to see what kind of difference we get in our sunflower growth. So this is ready to go, and then I can bring my other tray back here. Once again, it's right up to the light as well, and that's going to be harvested tomorrow. And I could even take this tray here away and bring that down. Doesn't need to be that close, really. You can see that's pretty much perfect. We've got a nice amount there. And so yeah, we've got good production going here. So you can see I've got one tray that's ready to harvest, and I could easily harvest this now. I'm just going to give it a bit more time to maximize my return on the seed. We've got this other tray that we've just uncovered here. We've got a tray germinating that we just put in here, and if I wanted to, I could actually germinate another tray under here as well. So we can do a lot of production in a very small amount of space. The trick is really just rotating your trays through and then stacking. The reason this is great for a home system is having the germination and the growing happening in the same space. You can do this in a commercial system, but usually in a commercial system you have the germination taking place in one spot, and then the photosynthesis or growing component happening in another spot. You can do this commercially, but separating them gives you more control over each step of the process. So this works really well in a home environment. You can see we have lots of different ways to control the height here. I've got the lights and everything on a timer. These heating pads here are on that same timer. So we're in a good situation with just a single shelf within our home of being able to produce 4 trays of microgreens of whatever crops we want, as long as they're in a short enough cycle, and with a production value of over $5,000. So the key thing there is to be able to rotate through, do your germination under your growing, and just kind of keep an eye on things. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what it looks like to do sort of repeated rapid production, and gives you a sense of how you might set that up in your own home as well.